Before we get too deep into power measurement fundamentals, we should look at what components make up a system. Fairly straightforward. You have three components on one side. One is the transmitter. Now, we a lot of times will abbreviate the transmitter just TX. You have a cable of some type, a connector to an antenna. Now, this looks fairly straightforward, not too complicated. The only thing to know is to keep in mind this can all be integrated where you won't see these components. This radio can be as small as a chip, and this cable can really just be a solder joint or something on a printed circuit board, and the antenna can just be a few really fancy pieces of a printed circuit board. So don't think of these as large, big radio, big cable, big antenna, although it can be, but don't always think about it that way. These can be one component inside of your phone, for example, would have this. The other side, the opposite, can be a transmitter, transmit, or it can receive. Now, receive is abbreviated RX. One thing to note about Wi-Fi in particular is there's no such thing as a transmitter and a receiver. They're called transceivers. They can do both, transmit and receive. So in one particular case, we may say this direction, we have a transmitter and we have a receiver, and for that moment in time, that is correct. But the next moment in time, they could switch roles, transmitter to receiver, and the signal comes back the other direction. Not too bad. It's okay. But we're going to have these transceivers for communication. Now, when we go to measure the power, this gets, I can't say technical. This is not something you're necessarily ever going to do in the field. I can't say I've ever done this. And the reason is this is done really more on the engineering side when the designers of an access point are working. But there are very important pieces of information you need to know about power measurement. The first is, where is it measured? Power measurement starts, let's go red here, can really be measured from two places. One here is called the intentional radiator. Actually, I wrote that wrong. Sorry. This goes here, if you can follow that. So the intentional radiator, abbreviated IR, the intentional radiator is the amount of power right up to the connection to the antenna. So it's the radio, it's the cable, it's anything in between, power amplifiers, noise filters, anything in there. But if we were to put a meter right there, that is the intentional radiator, and that is where power can be measured. Why do we care about this? Because there are regulations worldwide, mostly worldwide, that dictate how much power can be at a particular point in a system. In North America, the Federal Communications Commission says there is a certain amount of power that can exit the intentional radiator. They also say that there are an amount of power that can come from the antenna, and this is called EIRP. I'm not going to write it because I'll probably misspell 3 or 4 of these words. Equivalent isotropically radiated power. Equivalent isotropically radiated power. How much power is coming out of that antenna? Remember, the job of an antenna is to focus power or to distribute the power out into the air. A little a little cable doesn't do that. Not really. It's not designed to do that. So there's a whole section on antennas. Let's not get caught up there. But the two places to measure power, right up until at the antenna connection, what is coming through everything to here, and then where we can measure power at the antenna. because antennas come in different gains. So different antenna gain will have a higher EIRP even with the same IR. So you could have something like this. Your intentional radiator may be 1, and your EIRP may actually be 6 because of what the antenna can do. Now, we call it antenna gain, but remember, antennas don't actually increase power. They actually just concentrate it. So don't get too caught up in that right now, but this should be a good basic introduction to power measurement. In the next video, we're going to talk about actual power measurement. If you need to take a break, get a drink of something, soothe yourself, the next one's kind of a bear, but it will definitely be worth it.